Good morning all. I make that 11:01, so we will get started. So I'd like to welcome everybody today to BPIC's Social Value in Action webinar. So I am Laura Perry. I'm a Social Value Implementation Lead at Bridge, which is a built environment consultancy across 15 locations in the UK. And I will be your host for today's webinar. So before we start today's session and introduce our incredible panel, I just wanted to go through some housekeeping rules before we get started. So please note this session will be recorded and a recording will be made available for viewing on catch-up. So please do keep your microphones muted throughout the session just to avoid any interference. There will be a Q&A following the panel discussion, so please feel free at any point during the session to pop your questions into the chat box. If you have a question that you would like directed at a particular member of the panel, please do just make this clear in your question. So the purpose of today's webinar is to really understand the importance of social value for clients and local authorities. We're going to explore what effective social value delivery looks like in practice and learn how to monitor, record and embed social value across projects, supply chain and business strategy. We're also really looking to gain that awareness of social value legislation and its impact on delivery. So without further ado, I'm going to ask our amazing panel to introduce themselves. So I'm going to ask each member of the panel to provide a quick introduction to themselves and their role. So Fozia, would you like to kick us off?
Yeah, sure. Good morning, everybody. I'm Fozia Parveen. I'm the Group Head of Social Value and Enterprise at Morgan Lovell and Overbury, part of the Morgan Sindall Group. We have 3 partnership arms with the business. We have a partnership arm, which is Muse and Lovells. We have construction side of Morgan Sindall Group, which is infrastructure, property services, construction and Baker Hicks, and the fit out division, which is Overbury and Morgan Lovell, where I sit.
Amazing, thank you, Fozia. We're really looking forward to hearing more about Overbury shortly. Joanna, would you like to go next?
Hi, good morning. Joanna Dahlgren. I'm the head of social value and social return on investment at the Waltham Forest Council. I lead the borough's strategy to maximize social, economic and environmental impact from public investments, but also strategic partnerships. The key aim of the function, of the social value function in the council is to lead the authority drive to turn every pound into meaningful impact. We're very kind of big on a outcome like people-centric and place-based approach that really supports our people, places and planet and accelerate that positive change, but also ensures every decision is value-driven. Thank you.
Amazing, thank you, Joanna. And yeah, we're really looking forward to hearing more about your approach shortly. Carly, would you like to go next?
Morning, everybody. I'm Carly Gibbons. I am the social value lead for Morgan Lovell Southern. Today I'm just here to talk about how we make impact in the communities where we work.
Brilliant, thank you, Carly. I know you've got some incredible examples to talk us through a bit later on. And then last but certainly not least, we have Jo.
Oh, hi, I'm Jo Radcliffe from Always Be You. It's a charity supporting adults with learning disabilities, enabling them to access work opportunities and social opportunities to make friends. We're based in Hertfordshire and I'm the CEO, and I'm here to talk about how the amazing Morgan Lovell have supported us to achieve great outcomes within our community.
Brilliant, thank you, Jo. And I think you'll all agree they're an absolutely fantastic panel. So I'm really looking forward to today's discussion. So just to start our discussion today, I'd like to ask Fozia to introduce a bit more about Overbury, the amazing work you do. And could you talk us through your approach to social value as a group?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Laura. I think I'd like to just start off by saying that, good social value, what is that? I think it's more than just hitting numbers. It's about creating meaningful, lasting and measurable impact for people, places and planet. And I want to start off by saying that actually within Overbury and Morgan Lovell, social value has to be at the core business. It has to be part of the core business and embedding that within the business purposes. And I don't feel that social value should just sit on the sidelines. It should be integrated into how a business operates. Procurement, supply chain, employment practices and everyday decision making should all contribute. And I do feel that the best organisations treat social value as a strategic priority, not just an add-on. every new starter that joins Overbury and Morgan Lovell, they have an induction day. And within that induction day, they are informed, educated about social value. So social value is not just my responsibility. It's not just Carly and the social value lead's responsibility. It's everyone's responsibility up front when they join Overbury and Morgan Lovell. With that said, we've got to make sure that social value must be delivered in a way that's fair, it's inclusive and respectful. It should support underrepresented or disadvantaged groups in a meaningful way. And I really do believe that quality must never be sacrificed just to hit a target. And I think having that, head role and a leader role within social value, I do believe that impact that has to be real. It can't just be reported. So we focus on genuine outcomes and not just the activities. So we need to demonstrate how lives are improved, how barriers can be removed or opportunities are created. So we can use case studies, lived experience and stories that really sit alongside the data. And having said that, I think data still is important. And I think good social value includes robust, honest and independently verified data. Reporting has to be clear, it has to be consistent, and it has to show what was delivered, what difference was made, who benefited, and how that was calculated. And I think, we can use your platform's dashboards, the case studies and evidence to support that complete transparency. I also feel that, within Overbury Morgan Lovell, we are now starting to look at long-term legacy and not just short-term wins. So social value should create a lasting change beyond the life cycle of our projects. And sometimes we do have very short projects, but the life cycle of those projects, but we make sure that whatever we do is helping to build local skills, strengthening community organisations, or improving our supply chain. So sustainability and resilience are key indicators of good practice. I also feel that we need to think about innovation and continuous improvement. And I do believe that the strongest businesses and strongest organisations, can really adapt, learn and innovate. And I think the work that we do has to evolve around programmes accordingly, and also different boroughs and communities. We can't just have a one-size-fits-all approach. And I think being a decentralised business, we are able to be agile and reactive when things have to change, and we have to sort of move along different programmes and on opportunities. And I think I'd like to just sort of also say that, strong partnerships and collaboration are key for us within Overbury and Morgan Lovell. And I do feel that we need to be community-led rather than just thinking that, we've done something good on that project, that will work on this project. It won't. We also get involved with lots of local needs analysis, indices. We make sure that, any business that, we work with, or the small business that we work with, any local charities or enterprises in that area are where there is a need. It's not just that we just go along and just try and do what we need to do. We have to make sure that we link up with our charities, our social enterprises, our education providers, grassroots charities, as well as community groups. But also we need to make sure that we liaise with the local authorities and the councils in those areas. They have an oversight and demographic indice deprivations more than we will ever be able to find with a local charity. And I think co-designing programmes and initiatives with our community partners, with the local authority, helps to ensure a more joined up approach, which actually then can multiply after we leave that area. So I think, in summary, for me, I think good social value has to be purposeful, it has to be aligned, it has to be measurable, it has to be authentic, and I think it has to be also transformative, where it sort of improves lives, strengthens communities, leaves a bit of a legacy, and we can actually see the evidence that is clearly transparent. I think that's what I'm going to end on, Laura.
Amazing. Thank you, Rosie. And that was so insightful, and really interesting to hear that actually it's everyone's responsibility at Overbury Morgan Lovell, and actually from day one they're inducted, and it's part of their induction process to understand that social value is their responsibility as well as the team that supports that. So that's really kind of an interesting point and a good one to take away. I know you spoke about there that kind of real link with liaison with local authorities. As you say, they know their area better than anyone else within that zone, and actually co-designing together not just taking that approach that worked on one development and taking it to the next, thinking it will have the same effect. It's really that co-design and legacy piece. So it feels like a great time to bring in Giovanna, obviously being from a local authority. Would you mind kind of telling us a bit more about that end user social value expectation and what kind of standards local authorities are looking to set in the area?
Thank you, Laura. So building on what kind of Fozia very beautifully presented here, I think I want to do a very quick overview of the rollout of the social value in Waltham Forest, because we have been on the journey for quite some times now. So we have established social value dedicated function back in 2020, but partner with the social value portal, which you probably all familiar with, supports the measurement, monitoring, and reporting on social value activities back in 2019. Historically, the social value focus in Waltham Forest was really on absolute fiscal value. So we sit in finance alongside procurement and the return on investment. And you know, there's been a lot of conversation about, does proxy value work? Is it important? Is it not? Should we be reporting this? And I think it is important, especially if you look at where the function sits. However, it's also really important to understand what actually hides behind these numbers, because if you talk to a social value practitioners, so all of us will understand what 50 or 60 million pounds of social value delivery means. But if you talk to a resident or an end user or somebody a part of a communities, would they know? They wouldn't, right? So I think over the years, we've kind of understood that, and we shifted towards very local and locally targeted interventions that address specific needs. And we focus on fostering innovation, not just to deliver more locally relevant activities and interventions and you know, but really to kind of also focus on securing additional funding and looking how we can help to protect the financial footing of the local authority. So I don't want to go through the numbers, because you know, we do publish social value report every year, and it's all kind of available on our website if you want to look at. But what I do want to talk about is how social value is embedded and what the approach looks like in Waltham Forest. So we incorporate the social value at the stage of a design. So it's really pre-project phase, where the project concept, project design happens. So it's very early. It's pre-commissioning, it's pre-procurement. And you may ask why. I think procurement stage is really too late to be thinking of social value and trying to build in something into tender when you actually do not know how the specification of the project look like, what's behind the rationale of having that project design in the first place. So we have a kind of a really nice cycle from design through the commissioning, where the kind of defined approach is specified, and the protocol is developed throughout the procurement, and then where, you know, the tendering and quotation happens, and throughout the contract award. But I think the most important, the key kind of stage of the social value cycle is the contract management. You can have the best social value requirements, the best kind of instruction for bidders, the best approach developed at the procurement stage. If you do not have the contract executive function nailed, not much is going to happen. So we very kind of hands-on function. We work with our supplier hands to hands. We kind of, I like to think that we join the dots function. So when the supplier comes to Waltham Forest, we will make sure they connected with our network of providers, they've got the tools and mechanism to actually deliver what they committed at the tender stage, but we will work with them. On the, we will meet on very regular basis. We will provide advice, we'll provide the guidance. So we're there at every step of the journey. And I think that's really, really key, because we often, from the buyer perspective, not just public sector, we often have massive expectation that suppliers come and then deliver and help us solve the most complex societal issues, right? But very rarely you see the supporting mechanism and tools being implemented. And I don't think that's fair. So I'm really, we're really lucky in Waltham Forest that we have the social value function, and not just because the council can demonstrate the wonderful work of the suppliers and our supply chain, but because we can be, we can be supporting them alongside the delivery of their projects. What the other really important aspect for us is that we've kind of learned alongside the journey, and we've become more ambitious, and we keep raising the bar higher and higher. And for us, the social value needs to be outcome led and impact driven. It's got to transform lives through the strategic investment, through all the kind of innovation, the activities, the delivery of the projects that happen. So we've kind of had this 4 pillars of the kind of the social value strategy, if you like, and it's what we kind of try to promote and focus on and reiterate, not just in our tenders and our strategies and the policies, but throughout kind of like everyday engagement with our suppliers. And they're very simple, they're people-centric. So the question you want to ask it is like, whose needs are we truly serving, right? Social value needs to be centered around the people, because people are at the heart of that change. It has to be place-based. And I think that links really nicely to what Fozia was talking about. Where is the impact that is being generated and felt? Who are the beneficiaries of the interventions that are being delivered? It also needs to be impact and outcome led. So again, the successes needs to be defined by measurable change. So has jobs been created and filled by the local residents? Has upskilling or reskilling happened? So it's not just outputs, which could be a volume of work. Is that change, is that impact that is being achieved and generated? But of course, from the local authority perspective and the current economic climate and very difficult financial position, we also need to be value driven, and we need to prioritize the holistic return on investment in all the kind of 3 pillars of sustainability, so social, and environmental, and economic, over the initial price. Thinking what is really the total value that we are delivering for the public money spent. And I think on this, I really want to talk about something very important, which is a social value and social impact, because these terms are often being used interchangeably and not often they being understood in the correct way. So if we think of a social value is the added benefit, right? That is being created by either activity or investment, is the extra good that goes beyond the basic service. So it focuses on a broader value created for people, for our communities, and for our places, where impact is the actual change that happens as a result of this intervention or the investment, is the outcomes you can see, the outcomes that can be measured, and more importantly, evidence. So what difference does that make? I think if we kind of think of an example. So I want to give you an example of the recent project that is being delivered by our local provider many of you might have come across called Get Set UK. So at the end of last year, we have the previous year, we have commissioned out a pilot for our residents that resides in the temporary housing. Temporary accommodation is really a huge financial constraint for a lot of the local authorities at the moment. And we wanted to do something different instead of moving people from a very expensive TA to less expensive TA, we thought, how about if we develop a program that supports those residents into sustainable jobs so they can transition out of the TA and they can basically improve their life. And that's, I think that is the impact I'm trying to describe here. That's really important. The outcome of the social value, that's something that's material, that you can measure. So in a kind of a very brief introduction of that program, it is a pilot with the aim to support TA residents sustainable jobs. And I think why I'm using sustainable, because we really focus on the good jobs that are paying at least London living wage, but really above that kind of a mark. As you all know, living in London is very, very expensive. So transition from a TA into privately rented accommodation is very costly. The program today delivers some absolutely amazing results. We've got 35 people that have achieved employment, but more importantly, 13 families have been transitioned out of TA and supported into independent living. And for me, this is what social value is really all about. It's about changing people's life and making sure that all we do, all we invest in, deliver that greater good, the long kind of term impact, what Fozia was talking about. And that we really kind of shift the focus from the short, sharp intervention and an often transactional partnership into kind of more genuine, long-lasting, meaningful partnership with our stakeholders, with our communities, with local businesses, to actually make sure that pathways like this, programs like this take place, and they really deliver for the local people. Thank you.
That's incredible. Thank you so much, Joanna. It's so great to hear that example, and also that really key point of that social value versus social impact. And I really liked what you said there about that kind of transactional partnership actually translating into a long and meaningful, lasting partnership, and that point where social value is ultimately about changing people's lives, and having that approach and having that holistic vision can basically enable that to happen, as you said, for those 13 families, which is incredible. I'd like to introduce Carly at this point, because I know you've got another fantastic initiative that really shows that kind of longevity of a project and actually the impact you can have when you are working in a particular area.
Oh, thank you, Laura. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, we have an initiative called One Good Thing, which is basically what it says on the tin. We actually aim to deliver one good thing on each of our projects. Some projects would only be 4 to 6 weeks, so it isn't always possible to do huge things, but everything that we aim to do is impactful. So what I look at is when I go and meet our clients and speak to work in the local community, I look at what good looks like, or what I think good looks like. So social impact is built into the project. It's not just added on later. Activities are rooted in the general local need and informed by the data. Employment and skills opportunities, they are central to the delivery. The supply chain is used as a force for good. So that's obviously making it as inclusive as possible, and that includes our partners that we're working with. Community legacy projects, as we've all said here, we want to create a lasting legacy, and I'll lead on to that at the end of this. Environmental and social value are integrated together. They're not treated separately. Measurement is transparent, and the outcome we have to have, we have to see what the outcome really is. Human stories are shared. If we don't share it, nobody knows the good that we are trying to create within the communities where we work. Partnerships have to be long-term, and the workforce, we all have to be engaged in social value. So this is where it leads on to a project that I'm extremely proud of. We had a project in Ware in Hertfordshire. This project was great for us at Morgan Lovell because we were actually going to be in Ware for a year. So it was something that I thought that we could make a real impact on. I got the local leads analysis, and I spent hours, days, weeks just looking at where we could help the local community, what charities, organisations, schools needed our support. We did many things on this project, from education to volunteering. But I actually reached out to a charity called Always Be You. And Jo Ratcliffe is the CEO of Always Be You, an amazing charity that supports adults with learning disabilities. And Morgan Lovell, and from the support of our supply chain, actually designed and funded a community cafe in Ware. So I'd just like to leave it here on that note and pass it on to Jo. Jo is the end user, and she will be able to tell you the impact that this community cafe has really made on those adults that she supports.
Oh, thanks, Carly. Hi, I'm Jo Radcliffe, the CEO at Always Be You. We're a charity enabling adults with learning disabilities and mental health conditions to socialise and make friends, learn life skills and work opportunities. I'm so lucky to have met Morgan Lovell. Carly has been amazing. We would not have had any of the opportunities of running a cafe if it hadn't have been for Morgan Lovell, because we're a very small charity. We only have 2 full-time members of staff. We support over 100 people with learning disabilities and over 100 carers. We don't have much money. We could not open a cafe ourselves because we just couldn't get the funds in time. And when you are the CEO and you also run the activities and also write the bids for grants, it's a very rewarding but very challenging job. And we were lucky enough to be given the opportunity from Ware Council to actually we were offered a building to open a pop-up cafe. And we were so excited about this prospect, but really scared. And also, we had no funds to do this. So this is where Carly and Morgan Lovell came in and supported us to open an amazing cafe. The reason why we wanted to open the cafe is we're supporting a lot of people with learning disabilities and mental health conditions. And lots of them have left school. They have no qualifications. Employees have not being able to are scared to give them the opportunity to actually work, and they're not being offered. There's no skills to be offered. Imagine your life leaving school and you've got no purpose. Where do you go from there? You have no way of learning, any skills. Imagine life with no hopes and dreams. And this is what I always get emotional. Please excuse me. I always do this. But Morgan Lovell enabled us to open an amazing cafe and support 20 people with learning disabilities and mental health conditions to actually have some real life work opportunities and to have a purpose and some expectations. So within that group of 20, we have, I don't even know if Carly, if you know this, but we several of those people regularly self-harm because they don't actually believe in themselves, and several of them have attempted suicide because they feel like there's nothing for them. Some have been hospitalized because of abuse, because they may look different, or they may have Tourette's, or they may have, they have been beaten up in the street because of discrimination, from, you know, general public, and hospitalized as well. And for them to stand up and to be able to learn a new skill, and to actually serve some coffee in a coffee shop and be accepted, and, you know, work in the community, that is vital. And it's saving lives, to be honest, because those people, when they actually worked in the cafe, they felt confident, they were accepted by the community, they learnt a skill, they can take that on to actually do some work in the future. And it's vital for self-esteem, it's vital for mental health. You know, for people with learning disabilities, not getting that opportunity is, you know, it's devastating for them. So we were able to do that. And we taught 20 people barista skills. You know, Morgan Lovell came in and they actually provided everything to do with setting up the cafe. It looked absolutely stunning. It was somewhere proud to, you know, people were proud to work there. You know, the design team designed all these amazing signage, and, you know, it was a really amazing place, you know, in the community for people to work. So the results were that 20 people learnt barista skills. They also grew in confidence. They enjoyed the experience. They had expert training. We were able to hire a support worker who was experienced in catering and hospitality, to actually train those people and give them the support that they needed, and the time and the patience to actually learn a skill. All of them learned how to use a till, money skills, talking to people. They all learned how to make coffees, and it was an incredible experience, which we would not have been able to do without Morgan Lovell. So please, anybody else from the construction site, if they want to do this kind of thing, please do. Please just, you know, do that, because, you know, small charities don't get a lot of funds. All the big charities are thought of all the time, and the small charities really struggle. And with a small charity, you know where that money is going. You can see it for yourself. You know, I know all the names of every single person that works, that comes along to our activities. I know all their parents, I know all their carers, and I know how much this opportunity meant to all of those people. So thank you so much for that. So can we show some of the slides, please?
Absolutely. Is everyone able to see those?
Yeah, we can, Laura. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. So this is the open day, a really proud moment at Cafe B. And so the first slide was and everyone was standing outside, you know, and the mayor came along, and it was something really to be proud of. And these are all the people that attend Always Be You, and they wanted to come and work, you know, at the cafe. And it was a fantastic day, something to be really proud of, and something that the residents of Ware were really, you know, really excited about as well. So should we go to slide 2? So this is Phoebe. Phoebe is working in the cafe. She's really struggled to get work experience, but she absolutely loved it and really enjoyed working there. She's now got a job at Marks and Spencer's. She works in the cafe there. This gave her a great experience with making coffees and drinks, and you can see how happy she is. She really enjoyed working there. Erin down below, she's actually the tutor, and because of this experience with Morgan Lovell, we realised how much benefit it gave to the people who we support, and we've been able to secure some funding to pay Erin for 3 years to provide work opportunities for people with learning disabilities. And we wouldn't have known, the pilot was so good for us, because we just wouldn't have known that it had such a big impact. And so now we're able to get funding to continue that project. And we will be doing things like designing products to sell, having stalls, we'll be opening pop-up cafes, we'll be popping up all around. We've been offered an opportunity at Turenbury Farm to run their kiosk in the golf club, making coffees and bacon sandwiches. And we wouldn't have known any of this if it wasn't for Morgan Lovell. So thank you so much. This is Louis's training. Louis is a local counsellor and he has autism, and he's really struggled to find any meaningful work opportunities, but it really meant a lot to him to work, and he's now trained as a barista. And all 20 of the people that were actually in training are going to continue to do work experience with us with our new outreach employability worker. So that's what Morgan Lovell has done for us. Right, next slide, please. So this is Jo. She helped do all of the design for, and works for Morgan Lovell, helped do all of the design for all of the, can you see all the beautiful posters behind and everything? And she was amazing, and it was a place to be proud to work at. So thank you so much for that. Your design skills are amazing. There's Jess down at the bottom. She's loved working in the cafe. She's never had any work experience before, and she said she absolutely enjoyed it, and she's going to continue with us. And there's Carly and Phil in the corner there. Unfortunately, Woolof's Phil, he got killed by a hit and run accident. I'm going to cry when I say that, but he had a great time working in the cafe. Right, let's go on. This is the team. Richard loved working in the cafe. There's Laura, there's Jess again, and there's Erin, and they had an amazing time. You can see how beautiful that cafe it was and how proud we are of it. So thank you so much to Morgan Lovell. I don't want to get too emotional. Right, next slide. And this is us all together. This is Carly and Barbara and me. And thank you very much for the opportunity. It was amazing. And I'll say no more.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Jo.
you, everyone.
So hard to follow that. What an incredible story. And we've had lots of love hearts, we've had lots of clapping emojis and lots of support in the chat as well. So I think it's really impacted a lot of us. So thank you so much for sharing that story, because it is.
Thank you so much for giving, and please, you know, everybody on here, let's, you know, please follow Morgan Lovell and you know, do the right thing, because it really means a lot to people in our community, in all the communities around the UK. Thank you.
Thank you, Jo. Absolutely. And that's what it's all about. As Joanna said earlier, it is about changing people's lives. And we can see firsthand there that, you know, names, faces and people's lives who have genuinely changed as a result of a social value intervention, which is just incredible. So we do have some time now for questions. So if anyone does have a question, please feel free to pop them into the chat. I have been keeping a little eye. I haven't seen any yet. We have had some comments though. Michelle says that they agree social value starts with co-design with our residents before we commission the services. The communities and residents we want to impact, we need to involve in the beginning, not design, and then ask them afterwards. And then Michelle's also put, we need to look wider than social values, sustainability, modern slavery, ED&I. All of these things need to be combined to improve health and economic inequalities. Absolutely. So we've got a question. It says, how does Walton Forest and Overbury Morgan Single ensure social impact is inclusive? Who wants to go first on that one? Fozia, you're unmuted if you wanted to jump in.
Yeah, I'm happy to take that one. I think as I said at the beginning, that, you know, whenever we get involved in an area, a local area with a local council, a lot of our work actually is usually not so linked to a local authority. But if we're in a local authority like Waltham Forest, we would reach out to the council, we would reach out to the community grassroots charities and the key stakeholders in that area, and make sure that we co-design and co-program an initiative that's going to have that kind of impact. And we can only do that if we work in collaboration with people like Waltham Forest and our key stakeholders on the ground. And like Jo has evidenced. Carly's work in that area was, going out, researching, finding out who are the best people to talk to, going to local authority, speaking to the right key stakeholders, and co-designing an initiative and a programme that has that legacy and that impact. And I think that's how we do that. And right up front, I did say how we don't have one size fits all. It is, we are very client centred as well in terms of what our client requirements are. If some of our clients don't have social value within their agenda, we will still educate about how we want to do social value, regardless of whether they do or not. So it's educating our clients and making sure we are inclusive in terms of making sure that all our supply chain, our employees, our contractors are all aware of the sort of impact that we're going to be making in that area and getting everybody involved.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Rosie. That's brilliant. Had another question in the chat saying large consultancies or contractors may deliver social value successfully on flagship projects, but how do we ensure that this is replicated consistently across smaller projects? Joanna, did you want to jump in on that one?
I think the successful delivery of social value depends very much on kind of the dialogue, the conversation, and the partnership that is being built, and that's regardless whether the organization is big or small. And I think because the question could be understood in many ways, and I think if the question kind of ask about the role of a smaller organization delivering social value and whether they are being in a disadvantaged position, I think that actually is far from being the case, because the smaller and especially a local organization are usually better informed. They've about the kind of the local needs. They've got the networks, they've got the expertise, and they're very, very rooted in local communities. So they actually really, well placed to deliver tangible social interventions that results in this kind of long-term impact that we all talk about.
Brilliant. Thank you, Joanna. Just conscious of time, so we will take one more question. And Julian have said, I'd love to do similar. I'm inspired to encourage social impact in organisations by what I've seen here, which is amazing. And they've asked, is there any advice around reaching out to charities and council to get collaborators? Carly, would you like to answer that one?
Yeah, I think it's just about being present in the area, doing your research, reaching out. I mean, I set up quite a few meetings with different charities, organisations, schools within the area. And then what we do as a business, I actually took it back to our project team, and we all sat around and discussed as like, what benefit can we leave in the area? So our projects are very fast paced. So as I said before, this particular project, we were there for a year, but I wanted to leave a legacy, and that is exactly what we've done here. I'm hoping that when we are actually gone, that this continues. I mean, we're fortunate enough that we've actually just won another project in the area. So I'm so looking forward to working with Jo for the next 8 months. But again, I think it's all about building those relationships. And again, it's having that relationship with our supply chain as well, because we can't do what we do without the support of our supply chain. So going forward, it's just about educating them as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Carly. Jo, is there anything you'd like to have kind of from that charity side in terms of organisations wishing to reach out to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think Carly was amazing reaching out. In fact, I didn't believe it when she was trying to offer me some support and help. So that's how little people reach out to organisations like us. And we are always open for people to come to us and offer, any help, that can be had. And, especially, building companies. We've had a fantastic relationship. So please just reach out to your local communities, reach out. Anyone can reach out to us. I'm still looking for more funds always. I just had to say that, it's important. But yes, just reach out to your local community and just assess the people that you're reaching out to and meet with them and talk to them and go and see what they've got to offer. I mean, Carly's come to our social clubs and she will tell you, the impact that she saw. She came at Christmas and saw our Christmas party and saw, go and see people, go and see what they're delivering. And it's often the small people who know, what's happening in the grassroots. They know what's happening in their communities, and they can deliver probably better than some of the large organisations. So please look at your small charities.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Jo. That's a great point to finish on. So thank you so much for everyone attending our webinar session today. I hope you found it really insightful and inspiring. And a massive thank you to our incredible panel as well for taking time out of your busy days to share your stories and hopefully empower more social impact as we go forward. So please do keep an eye out on the BPIC website for future webinars. And yeah, this session will be available on recording for anyone unable to join or anyone who would like to catch up on anything that was said. Thank you very much, and I hope you all have a lovely day.
Could I also just say thank you so much for Morgan Lovell for everything you've done for us and the people that you've helped, that you support. It will be long lasting, I promise.
Thanks.
Thank you.